John D. Rockefeller was the richest man to ever live. Richer than Elon Musk, richer than Jeff Bezos, and wealthier even than Mansa Musa, the legendary king of Mali. For more than a century, Rockefeller has worn the crown. At the height of his power, he controlled nearly 90% of America's oil industry, and his fortune was so vast, it made him the first billionaire in US history. Adjusted for today, estimates place his wealth at the equivalent of $400 to $600 billion, a number no modern billionaire has ever reached. His story isn't just about money, it's about power, legacy, and the very blueprint of what we now call the old money aesthetic. John Davison Rockefeller was born in 1839 in upstate New York. Unlike the heirs of old European fortunes, Rockefeller didn't come from aristocracy. His father was a wandering salesman, some even called him a con man, while his mother raised the family in a conservative Christian tradition of thrift, discipline, and hard work. From a young age, Rockefeller stood out. He kept meticulous track of every cent he earned. He even lent money to neighbors and charged them interest. By the time he was a teenager, he wasn't just earning money, he was learning how to manage it, multiply it, and most importantly, control it. That obsession with order, discipline, and efficiency would become the foundation of the greatest fortune the modern world has ever seen. In the mid-1800s, a new discovery was changing the world: oil. At first, it was mostly used for kerosene lamps, lighting homes and streets before electricity became widespread. Demand exploded, and a young Rockefeller saw his chance. In 1870, he founded the Standard Oil Company, but he didn't just want to produce oil, he wanted to control every part of it: refining, distribution, pipelines, even the railroads that carried it. Rockefeller built a system where nothing was wasted, everything was efficient, and every competitor was either bought out or crushed. One of his most ruthless moves came through the railroads. Rockefeller struck secret deals so Standard Oil shipments cost far less than anyone else's. His competitors were forced to pay full price while he shipped for pennies. That margin alone was enough to bleed rivals dry. And when it came time to buy them out, Rockefeller often showed up in person. Calm, polite, almost gentle, but his message was clear: sell to Standard Oil now or be driven out of business tomorrow. Most took the deal. Those who didn't usually regretted it. By the 1880s, Standard Oil controlled nearly 90% of the entire American oil industry. Imagine one company today owning Apple, Amazon, Google, Tesla, and Microsoft at the same time. That was Rockefeller's grip on oil, and it made him not just wealthy, but untouchably powerful. So just how rich did Rockefeller become? At his peak in 1913, his net worth was estimated at around $900 million. That might not sound like much today, but remember, the entire US economy at the time was only about $39 billion. That meant Rockefeller personally controlled 2% of America's wealth. Now imagine this: if someone today owned that same share of the economy, their fortune would be well over $400 billion. Some economists push the number even higher, closer to $600 billion in today's money. By comparison, the wealth of Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos starts to look almost modest. Even Mansa Musa, the fabled king of Mali, often called the richest man in history, ruled over a medieval empire where wealth was measured in gold and salt. Impressive, yes, but Rockefeller's fortune existed in the modern financial system, where his money wasn't just treasure, it was leverage, power, and influence over an entire industrial age. And here's the irony: when the Supreme Court broke up Standard Oil in 1911, Rockefeller didn't lose his empire, he actually became richer. The 34 companies that replaced Standard Oil, names like Exxon, Chevron, and Mobil, skyrocketed in value. and Rockefeller still owned shares in all of them. His wealth multiplied, even as his monopoly was dismantled. Despite being the richest man alive, Rockefeller never flaunted it the way today's billionaires do. No yachts, no private islands, no luxury brands. He wore simple dark suits, carried himself with quiet restraint, and was famous for clipping coupons well into his old age. To Rockefeller, wealth wasn't about spending, it was about keeping. He believed true power came from preservation, from building something that would last. He lived by the same strict Baptist values that shaped his childhood, insisting on punctuality, thrift, and efficiency in every part of his life. Even his estates reflected this philosophy. His family home, overlooking the Hudson River, wasn't some gaudy palace built to impress. It was elegant, refined, timeless, a symbol of continuity, meant to be passed down through generations. And that's why Rockefeller is often seen as the blueprint for the old money aesthetic. Wealth not measured in what you buy, but in what you build. Not in what you spend, but in what endures. His fortune wasn't just money, it became a dynasty, a legacy that outlived him. And of course, not everyone admired Rockefeller. To his critics, he wasn't a genius businessman, he was a monopolist, a robber baron. By the early 1900s, the public had grown deeply suspicious of Standard Oil's power. Newspapers ran scathing exposés, describing his company as an octopus with its tentacles wrapped around the nation. Ordinary Americans saw him as a man who had grown rich by crushing competition and bending the economy to his will. The pressure built up until 1911, when the Supreme Court declared Standard Oil an illegal monopoly. The company was dismantled into 34 separate firms. For the public, it was a victory, proof that even the most powerful man in America could be challenged. Yet in the long run, Rockefeller's influence never truly disappeared. Those 34 new companies didn't vanish, they grew. And for decades to come, they remained the backbone of American industry. The empire had been broken in name, but in reality, Rockefeller's reach continued to shape the modern oil age. Later in life, Rockefeller turned from building his empire to giving much of it away. In fact, he would donate more than $500 million over his lifetime, an amount that, adjusted for today, runs into the tens of billions. He helped found the University of Chicago, transforming it into one of the world's leading institutions. He created the Rockefeller Foundation, which funded breakthroughs in medicine and public health, from eradicating hookworm in the American South to advancing treatments that saved millions of lives around the world. But what made Rockefeller's philanthropy different was his philosophy. He didn't believe in charity as a quick fix. He believed in solving problems at their root. The best philanthropy, he once said, is constantly in search of the finalities, an attempt to cure evils at their source. And then there's the family legacy. The Rockefeller name became more than just a fortune. It became a dynasty. His descendants shaped banking, politics, culture, and the arts. For over a century, the family has remained a symbol of American old money, discreet, powerful, and enduring. Even today, the Rockefeller name carries a weight that few others can match. His fortune may have started with oil, but his legacy became something far greater. Rockefeller wasn't perfect, far from it. He was ruthless, secretive, and often feared. But he also built a fortune so vast and a legacy so lasting that more than a century later, he is still remembered as the richest man in modern history. And maybe that's the real takeaway from the very pinnacle of old money. True wealth isn't about what you spend in your lifetime. It's about what endures after you. Institutions, traditions, and a family name that carries weight for generations. For Rockefeller, money wasn't the end of the story. It was the foundation of a dynasty.